I have always loved math. I will always love math. So, what I want to do here is go through some basic numbers because I've heard people say that they have a hard time finding women in their area, which I can understand. It's not easy. Our society's not specifically structured to like finding people new and really meeting new people face to face outside of like specifically approaching people and like public and bars in scenarios that can often lead to a lot of awkwardness. I like to show things in terms of numbers. So let's go through it. So most people live in an area, maybe not your town, but at least in your county in total, or in an adjacent county, or hopefully you're within like at least 2 hours of somewhere that has a population in their county or city or whatever that has a population of 100,000. 100,000 is a nice round number, and it allows us to do some simple math here. So let's say you live in or are near a place that has 100,000 people. Not a lot, not a little, a medium amount of people. So the age range, the demographic breakdown of women aged 20 to 30 in my specific area, and realistically most areas that are out there, it's going to be weird that this number would be that much different. In fact, in my area, it was over 7%, but let's use the number of 7%. Let's round down to 7%. If you add the range of 30 to 40, then that number doubles. But let's just stick with, let's say you're like 20, 24 years old, and your range that you're looking for is age 20 to 30. So that would give you 7,000 women in that area, in that age range, in your area of 100,000 people. So not all of them are going to be single. Not all of them are going to be available. That's just how the world is. So let's assume that only 1/4 of those women are single and available. Maybe they're in a quasi relationship, but not like really. And I think that 1/4, that 1 in 4, that 25% is kind of lowballing it here. I think in reality, it's going to be a higher percentage of women that are single, especially in the age range of 20 to 30. But let's just go with 25% of them are single, dateable, or what have you. So that leaves you with 1,750 women. Let me ask you, how many of those, what percentage of that number have you asked out? Have you pursued? Have you had a conversation with? Have you allowed an attraction to build? How many of you pursued? Right? Like, what's the number? And then I want you to compare that number to 1,750, because that's how many single women are out there, specifically single women in your age range, right? You got to think about it in terms of those exact numbers, because unless it's like half of that, then it's not as doomed as you think it is, right? Let's say even 1,000. Have you asked out 1,000 women in your area? Have you asked out 1,000 women in your area? Seriously. Absolutely seriously. Because guess what? Even if you did, there would still be 750 women in your area that are in your age range and single and ready to mingle, right? So is it as hopeless as you believe it to be? I don't think it is. I don't think it can be. The numbers show that it is not, that they are out there, that they're there. They're absolutely there, right? They just are. That's how math works, right? And that's just a population of 100,000. Just 100,000. Now, the problem with that figure that we threw out of the 25% of them being single is that, well, first off, the number is probably higher. It's probably like 30 to 40%. But let's stick with that number. The problem with that is that it's actually way higher than 1,750, because it's not like that particular segment of the female population who is single will remain single, and it's not like that segment of the population that is in a relationship that is not single will not become single, right? Most marriages end in divorce. A lot of young marriages, especially like when young people get married, they're super likely to get divorced. So the there's gonna constantly be this influx. There's gonna be new women becoming single in that age range, right? All of the time. So realistically, you may as well just double that number, because a lot of them are gonna become on the market. And some will go off the market, right? It'll be a balancing act. So really, there's kind of like a cycling of that 1,750 women. It's not the same exact women all of the time. So really, that provides you even more options in that age range. So you may as well just, to be intellectually honest, to be mathematically honest, you should double that number to 3,500 women in the age range, in your age range, right? And that's if you have a limited age range of, let's say, 10 years, right? Which a lot of men, let's be honest, a lot of men got no problem dating a woman in their 30s, even if they're like early 20s. Why would they have an age? Like, come on, like, if you've ever gone to college, men talk about which teacher's like smoking hot, right? Like, so they'll be talking about a woman who's like pushing 50, who they would have no problem dating in a heartbeat, right? So like, realistically, the range is most times going to be larger than that like 10-year span, right? Like, I'm sorry, but it's just the way that people are. If you ask like a 25-year-old guy, hey, there's this like really good looking 19-year-old, you think they aren't going to go for it? Like, you think they're really limiting themselves to 20 to 30 years old? It's more so women who are typically like that, where it's like, I want a guy who's 26 to 28. I won't go outside of that range, right? But yeah, like, just the way the numbers break down, in even a low population, like the county I live in has over 100,000 people. So anybody who thinks in a mathematical kind of way can see that instantly. You're like, there's thousands of women around to choose from. Like, they're there. You can't make the argument that they aren't there, because they are. And like, I can drive an hour away, and there's a place that's got several hundreds of thousands of people. If I'm willing to drive for like, let's say 3 hours away, there's a place that has over 1 million people. So it's like, the numbers, just the raw numbers of available people within even a confined age range like this is crazy, right? Like say literally there's a place that you can drive that's within a couple hours that has a population of 1 million. That you just times it by 10, so there'd be 17,500, even if you limited yourself to being intellectually dishonest and acting like somehow it'll be the same women who are single throughout your time, you know. So like, have you asked out thousands of women? Have you really run out your options? Are they really not out there? Or is it you that's struggling to find them? Why are you struggling to find them? What can you do to go forward? You gotta start asking those questions and not leaning on the crutch of, these people just don't exist.